Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I hope all of you are having fantastic Mondays wherever you go, wherever you live, wherever you are traveling to be with friends and family for the holidays. It is Christmas Eve. And so while a lot of you slackers are out there not working at all, your boy knocked out 3 hours on the radio, about to knock out a half hour here, and then I'll be doing another hour on television. So stop slacking off. Be like me. Work. Merry Christmas to all of you a couple of days in advance. We got a lot to get to. The NFL playoff races. Dallas Cowboys are an unmitigated disaster. ABC has snagged the SEC on CBS away from CBS. Big win there. The new Star Wars movie, I went to see it last night. Isaiah Thomas goes into the crowd. What an idiot. He gets suspended for 2 games. Why were guys cheering against him? Because they wanted a Frosty. Ridiculous story all around there. And dark and disturbing story. 2 men stabbed to death outside of a Nashville bar. They were former high school classmates of each other at a school called Battleground Academy in the Nashville area, and one of them was the younger brother of 49er quarterback. And so this has been an ugly, ugly story. I will dive into it. But we began with the NFL playoff races. And I wanted to talk to you about the NFL playoff races because there are a lot of different angles in which it's worth unpacking. First of all, the Ravens have clinched the number 1 overall seed. If you haven't seen the reports, they have let it be known they are resting Mark Ingram. They are not going to play Lamar Jackson. Many of their best players are not going to be out there playing. And as a result, this will be an intriguing race to see coming down the stretch, all right? So the Ravens are resting many of their top players. They have clinched the number 1 overall seed. The number 2 overall seed likely to go to the Patriots. All they have to do is beat the Dolphins. Number 3, probably, if you looked at the way the Chargers played in their final home game of the year, the Chargers look done as they get ready to go up against a team that in the Kansas City Chiefs that is playing very well. Looks like the Chiefs will be the 3. Texans look likely to be the 4 seed, although the Texans are saying they're not going to rest any of their players. The betting markets feel different as the Titans are out to a 5-point favorite on the road in this game against the Texans. I think if the Chiefs win the early game, there's no way the Texans are going to be playing a lot of their starters because they literally have nothing to play for, assuming that the Chiefs win the early game against the Chargers. Then your race, the Bills are locked in at the 5 seed. Your race in the AFC comes down to the Titans versus the Steelers, probably. There's an outside chance that the Raiders could get in if everybody collapses. So, easy way to acknowledge this. If the Titans win, they are in. The Titans control their situation. All they have to do is beat the Texans, and they are in the playoffs to go on the road probably against the number 3 seed, Kansas City Chiefs. If the Titans lose and the Steelers win, then the Steelers would be in. If that happens, if both teams lose, then and the Colts win, then the Raiders would get in, as there would be 4 teams tied at 8-8. If the Raiders lose and the Colts lose, or if the Raiders win and the Colts lose, the Titans are in. So it's not that complicated of a playoff race in the AFC. Interestingly, if you really break it down, Mike Vrabel was hired to take the Titans to the next level. In 2 years, he will now be back at the exact same place that the previous head coach, Mike Mularkey, was at when he was fired. He will be going for a road game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Titans pulled off an upset in that playoff game. We'll see whether they could do it again. One of the only teams that the Titans seem to be able to win a big game against is the Chiefs. I believe Andy Reid is something like 1-9 all time for some reason against the Tennessee Titans. Titans beat the Chiefs earlier this year. I like the Bills, by the way, to beat the Houston Texans. I think they are the superior team right now over the Texans. So that is the AFC playoff race. In the NFC, there's a lot of uncertainty. The Saints, the 49ers, the Packers all have hope that they could be the 1 seed. The Seahawks, with a really bad loss to the Cardinals, fall all the way down to the 5 seed. Right now, if the season ended today, the 49ers would be your number 1, it appears, overall seed in the NFC. But the big takeaway here is, I think, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the big takeaway is the Dallas Cowboys are an unmitigated disaster. That was a woeful performance. I hope you tapped the vein and listened to me and took the under and the Eagles in that game. As a result, your boy is going to be king on Lock It In about an hour. Had a great NFL gambling weekend, hit a lot of situations there. The Cowboys, to me, hit a lot of games. The Cowboys, to me, have to make decisions in 2 different universes here, all right? 2 different universes here. One, what are they going to do at head coach? And this is a big question. It's a broad question. Ever since Jerry Jones ran out Jimmy Johnson, there has been a large issue with who is willing to cede the attention and all of the media love and just all of the limelight to Jerry Jones, because no other owner that I'm aware of does post-game press conferences where he answers every question about his team. And so Jerry Jones, to me, needs to be willing to give up some of the stage if he wants a big-time playmaking head coach. Whether it's Urban Meyer, whether it's Lincoln Riley, whether maybe it's Matt Rule, Ron Rivera. Potentially, if you are impressed with what the Baltimore Ravens have done, maybe you go get their offensive coordinator. There are a lot of different options that are out there that could make some sense. Okay, Greg Roman is the offensive coordinator was with the 49ers with Kaepernick, was with Tyrod Taylor in Buffalo, and now is with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. One of those guys could make a lot of sense. But particularly if you're focused on an Urban Meyer-like coach, he's not going to want to concede any of his authority at all. He is the straw that stirs the drink. The buck stops with him when it comes to his team. Is Jerry Jones willing to get out of the way? That's the first question the Cowboys have to ask about who is going to be the next Cowboys head coach. Secondary question, what do you do about Dak Prescott? I don't think Dak Prescott's going to want $100 million guaranteed. He's going to want a Jared Goff-like contract. I don't think you can give it to him. If I were the Cowboys, even though I believe Dak Prescott has drastically outperformed his 4th-round draft pick status, I would contemplate doing to him what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Tennessee Titans did with Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota. That's basically taking him for a 5th year, franchising him. Now, they didn't have to do it with Mariota or Winston because they were first-round picks. And when you're a first-round pick, you get the option of a 5th year to pick up at a 5th year option cost that you already know exactly what it's going to be. But I would be inclined at this point in time to franchise tag Dak Prescott. Would make him unhappy, but you give him around $30 million guaranteed for 1 year. I'm not hamstringing my franchise by giving him $100 million. I just flat out don't believe right now, based on everything that we've seen, in Dak Prescott as the long-range Super Bowl winning future of the Dallas Cowboys. Doesn't mean he can't be, just means that I haven't seen enough to give him $100 million. And that's what he's going to want. He's going to want $100 million. And with 15 games in the books, 7-8, ain't getting it done. I know Dak Prescott is not the biggest problem. There were a lot of drops yesterday. His receivers did not help him out. Amari Cooper has a tendency to disappear in big games. There are certainly a lot of issues. He missed a lot of throws he should have made yesterday as well. I think that shoulder was injured. It was why I liked the Eagles and why I took the under in this game, looking at the medical situation there. I just don't believe you can give him big money. Now, having said all of this, the NFC East is a mess. Would it shock anybody if the Eagles went on the road and lost to the Giants? It would not shock me in the least, especially with Daniel Jones and Eli Manning out there playing flip cup like a couple of frat guys in college. So I think there is a decent chance the Eagles could still lose this game. The Redskins have announced they're shutting down Dwayne Haskins. Likelihood is that the Cowboys should get an easy win over the Redskins. So it would be totally Jason Garrett-like and Dallas Cowboys-like to somehow win the division at 8-8. I will reiterate my point that I made and have been making for several weeks. Assuming the Eagles or the Cowboys win the division, which they will, it's crazy that either the Seahawks or the 49ers potentially have to travel all the way across the country to go play against what I think is an inferior team all the way across the country on the East Coast. The NFL's got to stop this stupid rewarding of the home playoff games to division winners. This isn't complicated. Take the 4 top teams and give them home playoff games, even if, as it may be the case, 2 of the best teams are in the NFC West or in the NFC East or in the AFC South or in the AFC North, wherever they may be. That is, I think, the right decision to make. So as you break it all down, that is worth contemplating in the Cowboys' decision-making. 2 big decisions. Who's going to be the next coach, and what do you do with Dak? Those are both big Jerry Jones and company decisions to make. All right, this is a huge deal. And the news broke on Friday, courtesy of John Orand of the Sports Business Journal, that CBS was out of the running for bidding on the SEC game of the week. The next couple of days, I had a lot of phone calls, conversations. I think nobody else has confirmed this, but I'm very 100% confident on it. As a result, ABC/ESPN with Disney in front of it, the Disney money, has bought away the SEC on CBS rights. That's the 3:30 Eastern national broadcast window. And I believe that dollars is going to end up being close to $400 million a year for the SEC game of the week. And again, ABC is going to have it. They are going to air it on ABC. All of the SEC rights will now be controlled by ESPN, ABC, and Disney. This is a monster buy by ABC, Disney investing a substantial amount of money in the SEC. And as a result, this is a big win, big loss for CBS. CBS had this deal at $55 million a year, and they blew it in a big way, losing this. Now, a couple of things that are factors here. CBS still has the SEC for 4 more years. I am told that negotiations are ongoing right now to see if Disney/ABC/ESPN can buy away these remaining years of the CBS deal, now that we know it's effectively a finished product that CBS is not going to retain. Big issue here. CBS got the steal of the century so far in sports media for getting this rights package for $55 million a year. Here's where they blew it. They had an opportunity when Texas A&M and Missouri were added to the SEC to do what ESPN did and add 10 more years to that existing deal at a higher package and price. What the SEC anticipated CBS would do at a minimum was give them a per capita increase from 12 to 14. Instead, they refused, and in the process, they broke their relationship with the SEC. I told you guys and wrote this at Outkick 5 years ago that this relationship was over, and I thought it made sense in the years ahead for somebody to buy away the rights package from CBS. Credit to Disney/ABC/ESPN for getting this rights package done. This is a monster win for them. Locks up the SEC for years and years to come and gets them the preeminent rights package in the entirety of college football. The SEC game of the week is by far the highest rated of all of the conference packages. Now, here's something else that I think could be significant here. It would not stun me if they also start to simulcast College Game Day on ABC and potentially set up the SEC game of the week with a monster lead-in as well. Remember, one of the most impressive things about the audience that exists for these SEC games, 16 million plus people watched LSU at Alabama, is this is wild. There's no lead-in. Everybody who watches the SEC on CBS has to switch from games that are being played to an entirely new broadcast. And as a result, that's a testament to how much drawing power it has. But imagine how much higher rated this television package could be if there was a really good game on at noon leading into the SEC game of the week. Millions and millions more people would watch it, again, because right now it's an island in the CBS television contract, just kind of standing out there by itself. So this is, I believe, a huge win for ABC, going big, Disney investing big in the SEC. I'm going to write about this tomorrow. I'll have a big article up about it. You can all go read it on Christmas Eve while you're trying to avoid hanging out with your parents. But just so you know, that is coming. But props to Disney/ABC/ESPN for going and getting this. One aspect of this that a lot of you agree with. I think that ESPN and ABC need to negotiate for the SEC on CBS jingle. It's almost as iconic for Southerners as the Masters, and it's not going to be used now. Why not go ahead and try to get the rights to the SEC on CBS jingle as a part of this overall deal? To me, it makes a lot of sense. I would expect that CBS will fall down in the flow chart now. Probably will try to invest a little bit of money in the Pac-12 and the Big 12. But I think what you're seeing in general, and I'll write more about this tomorrow, is there is a flight to quality. And the very apex gets way more money. And then there's a big drop-off. And I think what you will see in college football rights fees is the SEC, the Big 10, big drop-off, ACC, Big 12, and Pac-12, because the middle part of the country is watching the SEC and the Big 10 in a much larger fashion than the rest. And this is kind of interesting. In general, we've seen the superstar effect sort of take place. I live in Nashville. You talk to musicians and they're like, man, there's almost no middle class anymore. You're either like superstar, monster, huge, making money hand over fist, or you're struggling to make it. There is a big drop-off in the middle class. It's been hollowed out in general with the superstar effect, and I think you're starting to see that in college athletics as well. Okay, been a lot of talk about this new Star Wars movie. What's it called? The Last Skywalker, Episode 9. I went last night and took my 3 boys, my wife, we all went and watched it on the big IMAX screen, and I got to tell you Star Wars nerds, you guys need to get a life. This is a pretty good movie, all right? One of the wild things to me in general about Star Wars is this idea that the originals didn't have monster plot holes in them. This is not an incredibly smart movie. It's an entertaining movie. It's a lot of fun to watch, but it isn't some massively brilliant, unbelievably well-structured universe, right? The Marvel movies are smarter as a collective whole by far than the Disney movies are. Game of Thrones is smarter by far than the Disney movies are. And so this is, I think, a no-brainer that it is a really entertaining homage to the earlier 4, 5, and 6 movies. My boys liked it. I liked it. I thought it was good, all right? And so a lot of people believe and want way too much out of these movies. I thought it was very well done and enjoyable. The kids liked it. I think if you're sitting around obsessing about plot holes in Star Wars movies, these are movies made for kids. You need to get a life, all right? That's my thoughts in general. I enjoyed it. And my review of Star Wars is don't read the critics. Don't read the reviews. If you liked episodes 4, 5, and 6, and you have kids, they will probably like it. We enjoyed it. I give it a positive review. Couple of more thoughts here. Isaiah Thomas, who plays, who's Isaiah Thomas play for now? Not the Detroit Pistons Isaiah Thomas, like the little dude. I'm not even sure who he plays for anymore. The Bulls, is he on the Bulls? I'm not even sure. Somebody out there probably knows who. The Wizards. All right, I think he's on the Wizards. Obviously, I'm not paying attention to regular season NBA action because I have a life. But this dude is, I think, emblematic of the larger issues that have started to rise up with athletes, in particular in the NBA. They are total whiny losers. All right? I mean, here's the deal. Isaiah Thomas was mad because somebody said F you to him and flicked the double middle birds at him after he made a free throw. So he decided to walk into the crowd and confront them. I mean, this dude is soft to the high heavens, all right? You can't tell me that people weren't double birding Michael Jordan and Reggie Miller and Patrick Ewing and Charles Barkley and Larry Bird and all of these dudes like crazy back in the day. Now, look, I try when I'm in the crowd to only say things that I would be willing to say in front of my kids in the crowd. I think that's a good standard of fan behavior. Only say the things that you are willing to say in front of your kids, all right, if you're in the crowd. But when he got into the crowd and found the guy apologized and just said he wanted a Frosty. Isaiah Thomas has said, which is a really ridiculous, funny line. By the way, Frosty, delectable dessert treat. I don't blame him. Such a great treat. I hope he was going to go with the chocolate Frosty and not the vanilla Frosty, because it's an abomination to go vanilla Frosty over chocolate Frosty. I'm sorry. But to walk into the crowd to create an opportunity for another brawl-like situation because a dude curses at you and goes double middle fingers, like, what is Isaiah Thomas thinking? And what are NBA players thinking in general who are constantly obsessed with what people in the crowd are saying to them? How about develop some thicker skin and ignore what the crowd is saying? All these guys talk about how they thrive on hate and everything else. These are the softest dudes ever. I mean, deal with the fact that when you're on the road, people are going to root against you and they're probably going to say mean things to you. I kind of love it, right? There's two kinds of people. Kind of person who walks out in the crowd and wants to bathe in adulation and be cheered. I would rather turn an entire arena silent than have everybody cheering. Maybe that's a unique personality trait of me, but if you gave me an option right now to be an NBA player who hits a game-winning Game 7 three-point shot at home or on the road, I want to break the heart and soul of the entire building. I want it to go from as loud as you can imagine to completely silent in an instant. I love that. I love shutting people up more than I like getting people to cheer me. Maybe that's a little bit different for me. I enjoy the hate. I enjoy the rancor. I enjoy the anger. I embrace it. I'm fine with being a villain. Kobe was like that. Michael Jordan was like that. Are you telling me that Kobe or Michael Jordan would have ever walked into the crowd because somebody put up double birds in their direction? Can you imagine Reggie Miller going into the crowd because somebody gave him double birds? Charles Barkley? Come on. This is a soft move, and it's also an insanely dumb move because once you leave the court, you're potentially creating all sorts of issues. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me at all. All right, finally, and this is a dark and unfortunate and incredibly sad story, but in my hometown of Nashville, there were a couple of guys who were murdered that did absolutely nothing wrong at all. College kids who were home over the holidays hanging out with their high school friends. Clayton Beathard and Paul Trapani. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing the second guy's name correctly. Clayton Beathard is the younger brother of CJ, who is a backup quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. CJ is the grandson of Bobby Beathard, an NFL Hall of Famer who was a GM and had tremendous success over the years. They live in Franklin, Tennessee, right outside of Nashville. These guys went out in Midtown, Nashville, which is right by Vanderbilt. And what I was told, and this is an awful story, what I was told is they were out with a bunch of friends of theirs from high school one of the girls who was there got groped by a guy in the bar. These other guys went up to that guy, got him kicked out of the bar, and basically protected this girl who was 100% innocent and had done nothing. And they were protecting her when she had been assaulted by this guy. This guy then, I'm told, went and got a couple of his buddies, waited until the bar closed, and then when these guys walked out, he ran up and stabbed them, two of them to death, the two men whose names I just gave you. They had done absolutely nothing wrong at all. Again, that is, let me get their names right, Clayton Beathard and Paul Trapani, 22-year-old and a 21-year-old. They were trying to do the right thing. They were doing what you or I would teach our kids to do, which is protect women. We hear a lot about young men not protecting women. Here they were doing the exactly right thing, trying to protect women that were being groped and assaulted in a bar. And as a result, they were stabbed to death. Another of their friends was stabbed in the eye, and it appears that he is going to survive. But I am fired up about this. I am fired up in particular because the guy who they believe did this should have never been on the streets. He had stabbed someone previously, and he had been arrested for aggravated assault within the past month. Let me say this. I have worked in the criminal justice system. I have defended people accused of heinous crimes. If you don't know, I'm putting my lawyer hat on here. But this is absolutely indefensible that violent predators are being allowed out of jail and back onto our streets. I have no issue. If you're arrested with weed, if you're arrested for nonviolent offenses, you don't belong in jail. I agree with that. But if you are arrested for aggravated assault, if you have stabbed someone before, you should not get out early. You should have to fulfill the full length of your sentence. And these guys are the victims of a broken system in Nashville and also much of our country. And I can't imagine what that response and that feeling is like to be a parent. I hope I never have to experience it, where you go to the door in the middle of the night and find out that your son or daughter has been killed despite doing absolutely nothing wrong at all. I also believe that the police didn't do a good job putting out initial aspects of this story. I had a lot of Outkick listeners and readers that were there in the bar that know these kids, and a lot of them reached out to me to tell me what happened in that story. Initially, this was reported as an altercation over a girl, which sounds like two guys got into a fist fight over a girl they both liked. This was not that. They were attempting to protect a 100% innocent girl. They were heroic, if anything. They were doing exactly what we want our young men to do, which is protect people who are not able to protect themselves. Men, I still think, should stand up and try to protect women. They did that, and for doing it, they paid with their lives. This guy needs to be captured. He needs to be brought to justice. He doesn't ever need to be able to be outside of a prison again for the rest of his life. And I want to make sure I give you his name, and then I'm going to hold up his picture because I bet he will be fleeing soon if he hasn't already. There's no idea what part of the country he might be in. And so I want you guys to see what this guy looks like. So in the event that he is out and about, you might be able to catch this guy. Here is his picture. You can see it on both sides. This is the guy that everybody is looking for. If you see this man anywhere, call the police. He's obviously armed and dangerous and may well have committed multiple murders. And let me tell you his name. I doubt that you're going to need to know his name, but his name is Michael Mosley. All right. I love all of you. My name is Clay Travis. We will be live on Lock It In today, tomorrow, on Christmas Eve. A lot of you have more days off. Prayers for the families of these two innocent victims, and hopefully we can bring the guy who killed them, or the guys who killed them, to justice soon. I will be on Lock It In, 4:30 Eastern, 3:30 Central, 2:30 Mountain, 1:30 Pacific, and I appreciate all of you. My name is Clay Travis. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP, give a hug to your family, to your loved ones, as we come into the holiday season. Appreciate all of you. Kisses. See y'all. Love you. Thank you, Facebook.